Hi guys, it's producer Matt, and I'm in post-production right now. I'm just giving you a little note to say I'm sorry, but my mic was not at, I don't know, the quality was absolutely terrible when we taped this episode. So please stick with us. If you listen to us for the first time, go check out some of the other episodes. This ain't how we play that shit, you know. But we still have a thoroughly entertaining conversation. And in which case, I'm going to go to co-host Matt. Take it over, buddy.
Yeah, what do you think is the high point of like the Batman film?
What of the Batman?
No, just
Or do you mean
Batman
as
character. So even dating back to like Tim Burton.
uh do you know what? I really like Dark Knight Rises, and I think the fourth act, as we called it for the Batman, actually borrows a lot from that,
Yeah.
unintentionally probably. But yeah, I really like Dark Knight Rises. There's not a lot of Batman in it, but I really like Bane. I just think people think I know I was taking the piss earlier, but like it's just so iconic, and he's just this absolute brute of a man with this kind of pseudo-intellectual tone, and it's like,
Yeah.
you think darkness was your ally? I was born in the dark. You simply adapted to it. Like everything. This is the rising of Rasagul. Everything he says, I just eat it up. And that opening scene on the aeroplane with Pavel, the doctor, and the way that they rip the wings off, and he's like, no, they'll expect one of us alive. And then he said something like, the fire will burn or something. He goes, yes, the fire will burn. And then it just goes boom, and it just drops.
Yeah.
But that fight sequence with the FBI agents where Bane's the sheer size of him that was at the back of the plane, and then he just drops down three and suddenly boom. Wow, you feel the physical menace of him all the way through. And I didn't know hardly anything about Batman at that point, the Batman lore or anything. I was clawing my way back in after, was it 2012 of Avengers? So it was all still sort of, I think I wouldn't be surprised if Batman Rises was the same year. Because I can remember watching, sorry, not Batman Rises, Dark Knight Rises, but I can remember The Dark Knight coming out and me not liking it because of the ending with all the phone stuff. And I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is just like the phone ending turned me off it, but then I wasn't that bothered. It was just a film that I'd heard was really good. I waited until my dad had it on Blu-ray. So for me to find out that Natalia al Ghul was the child that escaped and Bane was a protector, I'm sure to people in the comics, like it was maybe forecast or obvious, but I thought it was like a really sophisticated superhero film. I know the whole thing about having like 40,000 police officers, taking every single one of them off the street, it's silly, but you know what, the film has to happen. Like if you were to go through all the films and correct the tweaks, films are like 10-15 minutes long in every single instance.
Yeah. I love that one too. Yeah, that's definitely a high point. I always go back to the first one, but you know, I can't tell if that's because the movie's great. I'm talking about the 1981 one.
Yeah.
I did actually watch it recently. It does like hold up. I love Michael Keaton in both roles, Bruce Wayne and Batman, but part of me thinks that like I can't separate myself from the movie because it came out when I was like 11 or 12 years old, and it really is the first, other than the Christopher Reeve Superman movies, it's the first, and even those I mean they were far too old for me to remember ever seeing in the theater. I'm sure I didn't. I mean, I don't think the first one came out in 78, I think. So I mean, no,
really?
I don't think I couldn't have seen it. But
pouring out for Richard Donner as well.
Yeah.
He died recently, didn't he?
Yeah. Yep. Sad. Anyway, so this is the one that I remember. That's probably the first superhero text I consumed, at least knowingly.
Yeah, 100%. I can remember it being a 12 here, and I think I wasn't old enough, and my dad went to see it before the summer holiday started. I was speaking to him about it the other day, and he said I was absolutely devastated that he'd been without me. Like as a
Oh,
child, like I was like, because it was one of those things that just consumed the playground, or for like that whole summer or period, like everything was just Batman. All the toys were
yeah.
Batman, all the postcards were Batman, all the posters in the bookshops, like they're reissued in little pocketbook sizes, like some of the classic like Batman stories from the sort of silver or golden age, and it's just Batman everywhere, and I was devastated. So he took me, and we're queuing up, and I was absolutely petrified that someone would find out that I wasn't 12. I was quite tall for my age, but I just it was almost like I can remember sort of not being able to enjoy it because I was a shy child anyway. But I just
Yeah.
felt when they used to have ushers that were still like walking around, I was just always waiting for them to go him. But yeah, it's definitely the first even superhero material that I can remember consuming. But yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah. I mean, it's cool because it has like a campiness to it that's very cartoonish, which is
yeah.
something the modern ones just don't have. They're much darker and more serious. I mean, there are dark and serious elements to the original one, but it has like a comic booky
Yeah.
aesthetic that the current ones don't really possess as much.
I think the Batman as well puts a lot of weight onto what Kevin Smith said when he said, why are we waiting for 5 years? Like the comics sustain 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Batman's titles every single month. There's a demand there. If I was DC, I'd be bringing one out every single year. You've got your main line, you've got Gotham by Gaslight, you've got Ninja Batman, you have year one Batman.
You could do Gotham Central.
Exactly. And all of these are just, you have your main line that's running every 2-3 years, and then you just slide in whatever ones you can possibly find or think of or write. I think the only hesitancy I have for that is finding directorial talent to fulfill that sort of schedule.
I do think you've really pinpointed like the pitfall of having like an integrated like the Kevin Smith model, because I mean Star Wars was definitely attempting something like that during the new trilogy, because you remember you had the 3 films, but on the off years you had like Rogue One, you had the Solo movie. To the extent that project did not succeed, it was because of all the difficulties they had in lining up and keeping behind the screen talent. So that I think really is the pitfall. I liked all of those movies, but to the extent that one could say they were unsuccessful, like the project, that 6-year project was unsuccessful, it's because of that.
Do you know what? I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and there seems to be not a silver bullet but a poisoned arrow with when you look at the Netflix stuff, that once Iron Fist failed, the whole thing collapsed in on itself, and people were like, oh, I don't have time for that now. What happened with Solo? Who was it? The guys that produced Into the Spider-Verse, Lord and Miller. They were brought in. Now, why do you bring people in that encourage improvising, and they're not going to stick to the script, and they're just going to let people just go? Why bring them in when you know that that's what they do? When you want someone to come in, be performative, stick to the script, get the day-to-day. I mean, you're almost like a manager as opposed to a director.
Right.
There's like no nuance to it. So when they were sacked and they had to redo almost the film in its entirety, and Ron Howard came in. Now, with box office, this is only my interpretation anyway. I think that while we can misjudge the excitement for something in our bubble, in our film, comics, TV bubble, that it's not extrapolated out to the general population. What I do think is important about that bubble is it's the tinder by which fires start. If there's a big excitement, and we're not just talking about a small group of people, you're talking about millions of people worldwide, that when that excitement starts with that and they start talking to people and they put the word out there, look at how films like Fan Four Stick failed. There's no reason for that having to have failed. Like with Solo, there's no reason for that having to have failed. but because there was zero buzz at the source, it didn't make its way out anywhere past that. And also the people like with Love and Thunder, that the Thor trailer that scooped up 200 million views in the first 24 hours. That's not Rita that's picking up a fucking shopping once a week, or that's not, you know, your mum, your dad, your uncle. That's us. That's us doing that.
Watching it 10 times.
Yeah, that's the source of it. So if Love and Thunder can get 200 million views for a teaser trailer, or like whatever the numbers were for Endgame, Infinity War, and No Way Home, I think it's an indicator. Like if you look at the polls that YouTubers do live, within the first 100 votes, you've got a pretty good representation of how that poll's going to finish with 100,000 votes or 10,000 votes.
Yep.
And I think what happened with Solo, akin to Iron Fist, in their culture, there's always default to I know better. Knowing better makes you look smart, and everybody likes to be smart. So when they were going, this is doomed, no one's going to like it, it's going to suck, because I know better, because I know about this, and I'm letting everybody know because I want you to know that I knew this before it happened. It pours water on that spark before it's even happened.